You're commuting home with Katz and Cosby. Now, here's John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby on 77 WABC.
And also now we have the nation's greatest economist. He, of course, hosts the super duper top rated show on WABC on Saturdays, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Larry Kudlow. Larry, what did you make of Kamala Harris and what Trump and others are calling, I'm using the phrase, the Maduro plan from Venezuela?
Yeah, well, price controls, you know. It sounded a lot like price controls. And whether you're Joe Stalin or Fidel Castro or Nicolas Maduro, or this next one's going to hurt, but Richard Nixon.
I know. They were tried. The Congress gave him the power, temporarily put on price controls. He did it because they dared him to do it. And boy, you got double-digit inflation as a result when they were taken off.
I was just going to say, he took the words right out of my mouth. So
I know the history.
It didn't work. It did not work. It won't work now. And also, you read through the rest of this plan, it's just got all kinds of government directions, takeovers, tax credits. By the time it's all said and done, the price tag is probably going to be somewhere between $2 and $3 trillion, plus price controls. By the way, nobody knows what price gouging is. No one knows.
It's
indefinable. They've never said it. The San Francisco Fed did a study. They said it wasn't an inflation problem. The other thing that what Kamala doesn't understand is rising prices don't cause inflation. Inflation causes rising prices, okay? Inflation causes prices to rise.
And inflation is caused by $2 trillion deficits, and they've had a total of $6 trillion deficits over their last 3 years.
And she was the deciding vote on a lot of these ones. I mean, that was the interesting, Larry. It's like she sort of makes it feel like she's a bit of a bystander in this whole economic downfall that we've all experienced.
No, she was the deciding vote in 2021, March, of the so-called relief plan. And then she came back a year later in August of 22 for the misnamed Inflation Reduction Act. She was the deciding vote there. And, you know, you just got a tremendous amount of spending, besides the price controls, tremendous amount of spending, and there'll be deficits and borrowing. It will not work. And in fact, it's not playing well. I mean, CNN's against it, and the Washington Post is against it, and some Democratic economists are against it. I'm not the only one. Conservatives like me are not the only people against this. And I think this was a huge mistake on her part, because it really does make her look like a big left liberal San Francisco progressive. I don't think she wanted that.
Larry, you brought up that CNN and MSNBC and all these others are coming out. Do you think that we'll finally see some of them take her to task whenever she finally gets to do an interview? Because here you have those networks saying this is not going to work. I mean, it's all over the place.
Yeah, I didn't say MSNBC. CNN, yes. Well, you have to get through the teleprompter. Right now, she and the teleprompter go everywhere together. So it's very hard to know if she'll ever meet with any press people. Maybe she will. I don't know. But the general public will see this speech and will see the bad reaction to it. At least that's my view. And I do not think it will be popular, because the two big decisions she's now made. One is this lefty governor in Minneapolis. And the second one is this big lefty price controls government socialism on the economy. So she's no moderate. She's no centrist. And people are going to see that. And here's Trump, he's standing up every week, giving 90-minute press conferences without a teleprompter. And he gave a very good speech on the economy in North Carolina. Very, very good pro-growth, tax cuts, deregulation, drill, baby, drill. I think he's back on message.
You know, Larry, one of the things, too, that we heard today from Kamala Harris, she used this. I agree with you. I think most people are going to see this and say, like you said, to the left, along with, again, Tim Walz too, who was, again, same thing as you're saying. But she also really was swiping Trump. I mean, one of the things she said was, I'm for middle class. He's for big business. She also actually said that Trump wants to increase taxes on gas, food, and she called it the Trump tax. She said it would cost the typical family $3,900 a year more. Is that true? What is she talking about?
No, it's really phony baloney because they are trying to calculate, I don't know, a baseline tariff, which former President Trump has flirted with, but he seems to have dropped that in favor of a more targeted reciprocity approach to unfair trading practices. But even if he had a 10% tariff, he also has a lot of tax cuts that would cover any cost increase from tariffs. So this is all just Democratic pap. Look, Joe Biden spent 3.5 years accusing the Trump tax cuts only for the rich, and she's saying the same thing. Rich corporations, and they don't pay their fair share. The reality is it was the middle-class wage earner and it was the black and brown wage earner who benefited the most under the Trump tax cuts. Today's Wall Street Journal had a terrific long op-ed about that and the failure of Bidenomics. So she can say what she wants to say, but I don't think it's going to penetrate. People, I believe, would prefer to go back to the more successful prosperity of Mr. Trump. And I think that's going to be key to this election.
This is all a big political problem. She has gone for 28 days or whatever it was without saying anything of substance. And she's the presidential presumptive nominee. She becomes going to become the actual nominee of her party. And then she comes out with this, which is just far left stuff that doesn't work. Yeah. And she is going to get pilloried with this. Like, it took several months for Dukakis to be the liberal from Massachusetts, not for a stick. I think she's done the stick. She's done that in one day.
Well, I think that's an interesting perspective, Ed, because people are saying how she's had this honeymoon and it's going to continue through the convention. I don't agree. I think she's already peaked. So I think I'm in agreement with you. Again, she's had two major decisions to make. One's this guy, Walz, who's a big lefty from Minnesota, a lefty and a phony, by the way. Second is this, socialist price control economic plan. And she's 0 for 2 strikes. And I think people are saying, wait a minute, kind of we liked it because Biden was out and but she's revealing herself. Each decision she made, Walz and the price controls, is right out of the left-wing playbook. Yeah, and that is, she cannot say that she's a centrist. And that's the case. She's trying to flip-flop into centrism, and she's not doing it.
The socialist from San Francisco is now a valid label for her.
Yeah, Maduro. She's making Maduro and Castro and all those people proud, it sounds like. Larry, thank you very much. And everybody, we're going to be tuning in. Huge numbers hitting the stratosphere, as John always says. Love having you on, Larry.
Thanks, Rita. Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.